Welcome to the Indie KidLit podcast. Join Marti Dumas and Elena Page on their quest to help children's and middle grade authors find the right audience and sell more books.
Welcome back to the Indie KidLit podcast. I'm one of your two magnificent hosts, Elena Page, and the other magnificent host is
Marti Dumas. Hello. So we are joined today by Melanie Schubert. And Melanie is a scriptwriter and songwriter, which is extra fancy, for the New Zealand performing arts company Gobsmacked, also an awesome name. She lives in a cozy apartment in Melbourne with her beloved husband, Philip, her French bulldog, who might be running around in the background. He was pretty darn cute. Goose, and a particular assortment of Japanese paraphernalia. For as long as she can remember, she's been staring out of windows, losing herself in daydreams, and pursuing her belief that she must carve out and follow her own path in life. Her book, Gregory and the Grimbuckle, is as delightful and whimsical as her bio, and has experienced a fair amount of indie success that we will get to talk with her about today. Welcome, Melanie.
Hi, guys.
So it's so good to have you. We were just talking before we got on air about how I randomly discovered your book on the internet and bought it and totally adored it. And this was a while ago. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, let's just start off with the basics. Will you tell us a little bit about your writer journey, how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think I guess a lot of writers would identify with just the need to write, where you're always writing something. And, even as a kid, we'd kind of do these productions and but I guess when I was in college, it was the rewriting of all my friends' essays. And there's a point to this story, which led to when my best friend began her own company, Gobsmacked. Or even before that, she began to come to me to be like, I can't make this work on stage. Do you think you could help me tweak it? And I was like, yeah, sure. I was so used to doing that with my friends in college. It just kind of naturally progressed to that. And over the years, it developed into, do you think you could write a script from scratch when we go ahead with our own company, to, now where I'm the sole writer of the scripts and the songs for their company. And I guess with that comes an explosion of ideas in the brain of stuff for children's books, and it just hasn't stopped, to be honest. I think I had this idea of I'm gonna have this one big idea, and then but it's not like that. It's the more you begin to put into that, it just goes exponentially crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that concept because it's so true in life. I guess there are some people who have one good book in them where they're I have this one idea for a book and it's the book of their life. But I think more often than not, the more creative you are, meaning the more you exercise your creative muscles, the stronger they get. So I think it's interesting to remember about the idea that you don't always have to be stretching your creative muscles in this very tight area, that you could be stretching them a little wider, and that it would still influence all of the other areas. I think that's really cool. Yeah, so oh wait, no, go ahead.
Oh, well, initially I wasn't even writing for children. It was the stuff that I would write prior to that was I don't know, biography stuff, or more adult, more when I was even younger, you'll dabble at the deep, meaningful poetry, which I was never any good at. And so, just kind of as I started to do that, discovering that was my voice as a children's writer, which was a surprise to us all.
So how long ago did you write Gregory and the Grimbuckle, which is such a cool title? I'd even love to know how you came up with that title.
When did I think I began to write it probably the very start, I'd say 5 years ago, when I had the first initial idea for it. And then I think I really nailed down and finished it when we were in Japan, because we went and lived in a van in Japan for 6 months and just traveled around. So that was
so cool.
So that was kind of when I was like, oh, hey, I started this book and now I've got this time and, you know, I want to finish it. So I think that was when I finished it, which was, 3 years ago, I'd say, when I did finish the initial draft. And yeah.
All right. So I have so many questions about that book because it is like, if you like Roald Dahl, then I think that you will
love Roald Dahl.
love this book. It is like weird in all the right ways. It has like this really whimsical tone to it. It's like full of just like creative little tiny bits. Like there's like, I just like it could feel like pretty lessony, except that it's so light that it doesn't feel lessony. Like the idea of like the exudals and like all that. Like I think I adored it. I thought it was really great. So like, what made that come together for you?
Like the idea of where the idea came from?
Or like the form, because you said that you were working on it. Like you sort of like what made the idea like stick together for you? Like how did you know you were in its right form?
I don't know. I think I read somewhere there's like gardener and architect style writers, and the architect style writers, they map it all out. They know what they want to do with stuff. They're very clear. Whereas the gardener's just like, oh, hey, I'm going to throw some seeds here and we'll see what grows. And then what comes from and I'm definitely a gardener. Like I'm like, oh, I saw this I had this one idea. And from that, it kind of just goes like twisty and like I end up with this mess, and then I have to sort through the mess and cut things out. And so I'm a real gardener writer. If that makes sense.
No, that absolutely does make sense. So then how long did it take you from when, like, did you always decide that you were going, like, how did your publishing process go? Like, what was that bit of it like?
Yeah, so I actually won a competition to have the book published by New Wrinkle Publishing, which is a new American indie publishing house. So yeah, I think at the time I was just, I believe that when people write a book, they want it to be read. I don't think you write a book and just like, oh, hey, you can do it for yourself, of course, but you want people to read it. And so obviously that desire was there. And so from the get-go, once I felt like it was even barely readable, you're just like, hey, I want someone to be reading this. I want to share this. So yeah, just started. You know, of course, I started with Penguin, sending it to Penguin. You know, got to be ambitious, guys. Always be ambitious.
Start at the top.
And then, basically just entered it everywhere I could find and just came across these guys. But the funny thing was, as I began to learn about them more and read about, I was so excited to work with them. Like, I wanted to win that specifically. And so it was because we just really connected the interaction that I had with them. I was like, they're so visionary. They're so into what they do. And I love to work with people who are passionate about what they do. Otherwise, there's just no point, is there? So when you see like-minded people like that who are passionate, it's exciting to work with them. So they saw something in my book as well, which was exciting. And so they published it for me. And actually the company is kind of a family company. So Lynette Craft, she's the kind of the head behind the company. And then you've got Abigail Craft. She's my illustrator and she's incredibly talented. As you can see from the illustrations, are very like touch of Disney, just bit of whimsy to them. And just, I just adore her style. So I felt very honored to work with her. And then there was actually Jared Craft, who he does like cinematic music for movies, which is where then we've ended up with a soundtrack that goes with the book, which teachers are loving playing to the kids in classes. So
So I was going to ask you about that. Was that no, that's not sidetrack. That's just conversation. It's good. So then I had that on my list to ask you about, like, the soundtrack for the book. Like, I've literally never heard of that before. Can you like talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. That's definitely something that New Wrinkle are unique for, and it's something that I think they'll probably stand out for in the indie publishing thing. So basically it was so much fun doing it. Like, when I would be corresponding via email with Jared, we'd be like, okay, so what are we thinking about this? And he'd send me these little pieces through, and I'd just be like, I mean, look, I pretty much just left it to him. So what he's done is read the book and like what's inspired him about it. So if you listen to like exudal work, and then it will kind of be quite light and whimsical, or when it's like dark exudals, and then you've got this deeper, darker cinematic track, just to kind of bring out the experience of the book. So for some people, just this idea of having music that brings the book to life as well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that soundtrack is how long? Like, what is that? Does it go with the whole book, or is it like when you watch a movie and it's got its soundtrack, like like a song?
It's like the kind of music you'd hear at a movie in the background.
Right. Like whenever I watch Harry Potter and I'm like, I want a soundtrack like that for my book, like Harry Potter. As soon as someone hears it, they know that's what it is. So
exactly.
You have this Gregory and the Grimbuckle music that as soon as the kids, that is so cool.
And it's good, guys. Like, it's good. Like, I'll be honest, when they told me about the soundtrack part, I was like, oh, yeah, like I didn't know what I was getting into with it. But when I heard what he's done, like, for me, it does stand up. When I listen to it, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. It's got that. And like, I'm proud to have my book attached to that. Do you know what I mean? So it was a real delight to have this little extra bit of, beauty.
And I think stuff. Because we're so musical, like people are so musical. It's like, like I said, you've got illustrations too, and that can make your book, associated, because people are sort of the visual of the auditory. But for some people who may just have, the words books, what a great idea to have music that when that music plays, people go, that book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's like a really cool idea. And for me, it like touches on the idea of collaboration. A lot of us are working solo, like we're working sort of alone, but really there's so much to be gained from working with other people, like bringing their ideas in. And for some of us, that means like hiring other people, right? And some of us are lucky enough to be able to stumble upon a team. So that's really cool.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I definitely don't think I could have produced such a high quality. Like, in my mind, I was always like, even if I can't get a publisher, I'll self-publish. But yeah, having that team behind you and just like trying to champion your work, it's amazing. It's definitely, I feel very lucky to have had that for my first book.
Yeah. So then working with a small press. So just like as a heads up, some people who listen to / watch, hello, YouTube people. Some people who listen to / watch our show are indie published, meaning that they are like the head of their publishing team, and they, either work alone or they are working with like people that they contract with to do different parts, like Elena and her fabulous. Elena, do you have the cover of that thing? Can you show that new cover yet? No, you have to go to her Instagram. And it is not secret because I saw it on Instagram, which means that it's really public.
It's secret to Instagram followers.
Oh,
so
it's secret.
Press the follow, people.
Go follow her and look at that. And look at her like upcoming book cover, like Water Dragons. What's the name of it?
Ooh. Poppy Snow and the Dragons of Atlantis. Is that a plug?
Dragons of Atlantis. No, because it's really, but Elena's not an artist. So then Elena like hired, is contracted, right? Is working with an artist. So that's still like pulling together a team in that sense. But then some people are like traditionally published with like a medium-sized contract, and some of them are traditionally published with small presses and had like pretty small contracts, and so are doing a lot of their own marketing and things. And so like one of the things that pulled me to you in the beginning was like what I think of as like tiny guerrilla marketing tactics that you used. And so I'm interested in like having you just tell us all about it. Feel free to like spill all of your techniques and like your entire heart, just like lay it all out there. And if you like were working as a part of a team, like if like that's cool too, like just like let us know, this person did this, but that was awesome or whatever.
Topic. And it's funny that this, just yesterday, I was talking to my husband about this, and we were saying how, like, like I'm more creative minded, and I was always complaining about the marketing stuff because, yeah, a lot of the marketing with Indie Pub falls to the author. If, like New Wrinkle were amazing, and they did, they definitely did stuff to help get it out there. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the actual marketing side does fall to, and yes, my guerrilla marketing, as you call it. Yeah, lately it has been, I did another little last slam for back to school. But yeah, and I know my husband said to me we were just talking about it and saying how at the start, I didn't even know what I was doing with my Instagram account. I would like post quotes and like, I don't know, I felt very lost with it. But the funny thing is, it's really just an investment of time. And I think if you treat it like work and you invest time into it, and it's the same with the writing, like you learn. And so bit by bit, I've had that account now before Gregory and the Grimbuckle, probably a year and a half, 2 years now, and grown it from where I would just put these piddly little quotes up occasionally to where now I do feel like I have a bit of a network and people who are interested in my career, and I'm interested in what I'm seeing of their stuff as well. And yeah, so it's been a real learning curve, just kind of working out who actually cares, who's going to post about your book, how do you connect with people in a way that they're not going to just think, because I mean, as soon as your account gets a bit bigger, I mean, I get them all the time in my direct messages. It's like, hi, I'd love to connect with you and like work together. And I'm like, delete, like it's just a lot of, I'm sure you've had those messages where it's just some random from somewhere. They don't know you. You don't even know what they're pitching to you. So yeah, I guess it's been a slow learning curve, and you find it's like a puzzle. Bit by bit, you learn where to go, like I did a lot of initially looking at small publishing houses who had a call out for reviewers. That was my initial when I started to approach it as like a business thing. And so I remember looking at one and they were like, we're looking for reviewers. So then I went down that list of 1,000 people who had replied wanting to review. And I contacted every single one of them and was like, would you be interested in reviewing a pre-release arc? So I've been working my little butt off.
Yo, that is so sneaky. So you were like DMing them? Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And look, a lot of people don't reply, which is great because those are the people who are not interested. You know what I mean? But then there's people who they're like, I'm so honored. How did you find me? Like, and obviously I was careful about who I'm contacting. I made sure I would check the account. What are they reading? Like, do they only read crime fiction? Are they going to be interested in a kid's novel? So that was kind of my really early plan of attack. And it was long, like you're talking hundreds of hours of just like nothing. But what you have after you do that many, many times is a little network who have read your book, who were willing to post about it on social media for you. And yeah, and they got something out of it too. They got the free ebook and the soundtrack, which I've sent them. So it's kind of like a win-win when you find the right people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the start. I don't know. Does that kind of answer?
Well, yeah, and it's that finding the right people, like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's so many times I nearly just deleted my account, and I'm so glad I persevered that I didn't do that because it has ended up being my biggest marketing tool. And now I have actually changed to a business profile. So recently one of my Canadian librarians she's just been wonderful. She went out and bought the book. She reviewed it. She was like plugging it around Canada to I don't even know where. And she just was like, hey, she's like, I was just thinking of you and it's back to school. She's like, I think you should really do a little plug and get it out there. And I'll post to my Pinterest people for you. And yeah, so people have been really supportive and wonderful. And yeah.
Okay. All right, so I feel like that was a fantastic overview. Now we're gonna want to have like specifics, right? Yeah. So when you were okay, so you gave us like that's awesome about that like checking through small presses like call outs, that's genius, right? What were some other things that seriously, that's great. Like people used to do that with Amazon reviewers, but then they made it harder to be able to like see. But that was before my time. Like by the time I started doing this, like it was difficult to access emails for Amazon reviewers. So then that wasn't a thing I ever spent a lot of time on. The Instagram is still very open. So that's probably still a thing that you could do right now.
Prepared for like every 10 people you contact, one might get back to you. That's the thing. It's a slow turnover, but it's worth it when you find the right people.
All right. So what else? Let's dig deep. What else did you do?
I did so much. Okay, I got it. One of the things I'm quite proud of is, and this is what I'll say, if you're really proud, first have something you're really, really proud of, that there's nothing that you wish that you know what I mean? Like this is something you want to plug. Then you have the pluck to go and approach people who you wouldn't usually. So that was something I was quite proud of, was getting it into National Geographic Kids magazine. So I had emailed them. Now that was a paid promotion. I did pay for that, but I didn't actually expect them to get back to me at all because, again, first book published, I didn't think that they would be interested in that even. So
I feel like you buried a lead there. So we're going to go back.
Sorry. I tend to go around in circles. Just bring me back.
Cool. I just wrote a note that we're just going to come back to that Nat Geo Kids thing. Okay. So anyway, then you had a thing you were proud of. It's in Nat Geo Kids. And then how did you parlay that into another thing? We'll get back to Nat Geo Kids in a second.
Oh no, that's what I mean. So I mean, I wasn't, when you're really proud of what you have, you're not afraid to go for the big guns, is what I mean.
Pause. Okay. Pause for me.
Pause. Pausing.
Pause.
Here we go.
Okay, let's go. You know, everybody knows me so well by now. And you know my issues with how do I get proud about it? Did that pride come from like, and I'm just being honest, you know, like honest, open, because we are on air. Just
we're
ourselves.
Overly honest. Like
overly honest.
But that's okay. You make family. You have to be over.
It's a timeline of our insecurities. We're going to look back in 10 years' time and be like, was that me?
You're not a real writer unless you're insecure about your work.
So that pride, like, did that come to you because, and I'm being honest, like, because you had that small publishing press?
That said, look, that definitely plays a huge part. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to, you know, like, I think having companies behind me has given me the confidence to keep going forward. But that said, it's such a journey, and it's such a, like, buckle in and prepare for years of nothing. Even when you get the publishing deal, there's been so many times when I just wanted to tear my hair and be like, this is off recording, right?
This is on recording.
On recording.
This is here.
But don't worry. It's just us. Just speak your heart.
Yeah. We'll call the episode Raw and Live with Melanie Schubert.
There is definitely so many times where even with the publishing contract, I'm just like, is anyone reading it?
Right.
But that said, that's natural. Those moments are natural. And I think that as long as you're constantly refining your work, you will come to a point where you are proud of what you have. And I remember early on with my gobsmacked boss being like, when she would send me back scripts and be like, this is rubbish. Like, she wouldn't say it in those words, but she'd be like, sometimes it would be like, you need to rewrite this whole script. And I was like, I don't even want to do this. Like, so many times I was nearly like, I'm not doing this anymore. But at the end of the day, if it's in your blood and you have that will to keep refining, and I think eventually getting someone behind you does give you that feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like, I definitely champion people who, I think it's amazing to get self-published, and there's so much potential for that as well. But having that network who are interested in your work, who validate that, that's the most important thing, however big or small that is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely, for me, I definitely felt that confidence, like somebody was willing to take me on. And I think personally, I would have continued to edit. I would have continued to educate myself until I found someone, because that everybody's totally different. But for me, it was important to find publishing house. Yeah, as a personal goal, I found that very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, is it okay? Can I do the other? Or you have a part two? You were part two. You had like a fixed space, like you were.
Back to
so
National
back to Nat
Geographic.
Geo Kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tell us that process. What did that look like? So you were confident, and then you went for that. What did that look like?
I emailed them, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm just wondering if like what the process is. Is it possible to get into the magazine?" And they were wonderful. They got back to me, and they were like, "Hi, we're actually really interested in." I just didn't expect it. Like, I sent out the email thinking never gonna hear back from them. You know, it's like quite a reputable. I was just like, I'm this little indie publisher, you know, nobody knows who I am. But they were like, yeah, we've had a look. We love the look of it. And, you know, we'd love to, we understand that, you know, your budget is probably tight. So they knew off the bat. The reality was like, I was hoping they wanted to do like a little feature piece, but they're like, you know, realistic about it. So I think in the end, they gave me something like 50 or 60% discount off the just being an Australian author, and they wanted me to be able to advertise with them. So
that is wonderful to hear. Poor National Geographic Kids is now gonna get like a few hundred random emails.
It's like being. Look, I don't think sales went berserk or anything when I did that, but it's kind of like, again, you're attaching your book to something reputable, and it's online now permanently. You can just Google National Geographic Kids, Gregory and the Grimbuckle, and there's the article they put together. And I think they're still running the sponsored ad, actually, which I really got bang for my buck there, because it was only meant to run for a month, but I think it's still going. So, woo!
That's awesome sauce. Okay, but sometimes visibility is, so you were saying you don't think that it resulted in additional sales. Do you have access, like immediate access? Like, how do you know when things result in additional sales when you are not in charge of that?
I think it's impossible to know directly from something like that, but there wasn't like, I only know based on when I get a royalties paycheck from my publisher, and then, you know, if it's a slow week or a slow month or whatever. So really, I can't know at this point. It would be like, we'll be curious to see after my little plug for the back to school thing if there's a little spike in sales, but it's all very long and drawn out. You know, like you have to wait. I read somewhere a writer said publishing a book is like telling a joke and waiting 2 years to find out if it was funny or not. And I just was like, it's so true. Like, Gregory and the Grimbuckle's been out for like nearly a year now, and there's this initial like everyone, you know, hype, and then it kind of trickled off, and then now it's kind of like building again, and things are happening again, and like, yeah, I'm always looking for places I can submit it. I personally purchased 100 books and sent them out to reviewers, like ranging from reviewers, like I've said, I found on Insta. Look, people say, there's so many ways you can get it out there without actually spending money. Sure, you can. But I again, it's a personal belief of mine that you need to treat it seriously if you want serious results. You know, nobody's going to expect you to be a top doctor if you didn't study for all these years, if you didn't invest. And I approach my writing the same. And yeah, like I've taken this time now to be serious about it, and just, I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. I'm going to bring you back in. Okay. So it sounds like you're doing, you said that you're doing a lot of little marketing things. You are doing a lot of little marketing things, and they're adding up into visibility at the very least. And also, like, if you're getting royalty statements and payments from your small publisher, then that means that your book is selling pretty well, because otherwise you would still be in debt to them, and they would just be sending you sad statements that were like, nope, you still owe us money, sort of.
I don't owe them anything. That was part of winning the competition. They did everything for me. There was no cost for the publishing for me.
Yeah. No. Not that you would have, not that it was like an author services where you pay them, but like if your book was still in the red for them, then you like wouldn't necessarily be getting actual money just yet. Like you would need to earn out. So the fact that that you're getting actual money is indicative of the fact that they've sold enough of them that they're like, you can have some money too. It's good. So that's a good thing. So you have sent books out to, like, you've bought books with your own money and
Yes,
sent
I
books
did.
out to people. What are the other things that you've done to get the word out about your book?
So I've done like random, like you said, guerrilla marketing, like the street buckles, where
I love your guerrilla marketing. You have to like speak of it with pride, like the book. It's
proud.
great.
So like stuff like I went to Officeworks and printed like maybe like 1,000+ stickers and then stuck them all over the city and gave them to my family and friends to stick them. But the street buckles was actually before I thought of the stickers, I like printed the buckles out at the library and then I cut them out and I pasted them. Like Melbourne's quite famous for the street art laneways. So then I kind of went and did them as like little paste ups hidden around. And then I did a promotion to my Instagram followers. And I honestly didn't think anyone was going to do it. Like, again, it's one of these things where you're like, you don't expect people are actually watching, but they are. And it wasn't like hundreds of people doing it, but I did have a couple of people. And, like one follower in particular, she had come down from Perth and she's like, I'm going to do your buckle hunt on there. And then the prize being a signed book. Whoever did it, I sent, if they had to find 9 street buckles, photograph them and post about it. And so then if they did that, then I sent them a signed copy in the mail.
That's awesome. All right. You got more. Come on. What you got?
Yeah.
We're hanging out with family. Let's do it.
Hang on. There's definitely been more. Oh yeah, I printed out like I made a little information brochure and like left it on notice boards and like, even at the library, you've got little notice areas. And so just, kind of little informative, like new author, local author. A lot of it has been sending the book to like well thought out places, like places where it could possibly be, I'm trying to think of the most
Give us
recent.
an example of a well thought out place.
Just like reviewers who are actually going to post somewhere. Or, the recent place, that's the one I couldn't remember. I recently joined the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and I really highly recommend it, actually, if you're I don't know how involved I'll be in it, but just even in the short time I have been involved, I learned so many little things. And one of those was sending your book to the government for legal deposit. Now, I didn't have to legally do it because my publisher's American, but when I contacted them, they were like, yeah, we'd love, because you're Australian, we'd love a copy anyway. But the point is, when you do that, it actually becomes catalogued into the system. So it really benefits you. So it's like a little, yes, I donated a free copy to that I didn't even need to. But the result of that is my book is suddenly going to be catalogued to every library in Australia. So they can now search it and it's there rather than just being nowhere. Because like now, before that, I was relying on the libraries actually finding it themselves and like reviewers posting about it directly to their library, whereas now it's going to be in the system. So it's just about
That's
like looking
so clever.
stuff and like, look, there are actually people and organizations and stuff out there that are interested, that want to find out about this. And yeah.
Yeah. So you are coming up. This is going to come right back around to where you just left it off there. So you are coming up on, like, you're getting close to your 1-year anniversary of this book being out. And it is interesting to me because usually books are tapering off at the 1-year anniversary of the book coming out, or if you are like an indie writer, then you've probably written and published like 3 other books since that one book came out, like for that book to have its 1-year anniversary. But you've got the one book and it actually seems to be like picking up steam and not tapering off. So then that is intriguing to me. And I want to figure out if we can. What's behind it? Wait,
the snowball stops rolling down the hill. You have to keep pushing it. That is the answer. So sales did fall off, like I said, quite markedly from the initial. And I'm just, maybe I'm a little more ambitious than I realized, because as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, well, what can I do now? And so that's when I've done this secondary attack of like contacting more reviewers and, getting it out to the library, joining the Society of Children's Book Writers, Scabby or whatever.
Yeah, the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And I just want to note that I did not even pay her to say, to plug SCBWI that hard. I just put that out there.
I didn't even know you guys were part of it.
I'm totally I say that to every person who comes to me and they're like, I want to write a children's book. I'm like, join SCBWI and then come and talk to me after you do that. Because
it just gives you a little insight into things you might not have even thought of. And even every time I went, I took a book with me. So at the meet and greet, the lady who organized the meeting, every time I was prepared to leave a book there, and I said, if somebody wants this, I'm happy to leave this copy here. I just met this room of people, and everybody was kind of getting up to leave. And actually the organizer of the event was like, oh, if no one's put their hand up, I'd love to take it. So I just ended up sending the book home with the organizer of the event. And then again, when I went to it's just kind of about being proactive. And believe it or not, I can actually be quite shy and anxious, but I can put that aside to kind of make my work is important to me. So I can kind of just be put my big girl pants on and be like when we went to a lecture recently for the Scabby thing, and I don't know, what do people say? Squibby?
Squibby. In Australia, we call it squibby, guys.
I call it Scabby. Everyone gets mad at me. There was a lecture there, and you're talking about a lecture theatre with 100+ people, and they're like, oh, now's an opportunity for any new news stuff. And I was like, oh, it's not really new. Maybe I shouldn't go up. Lucky the lady beside me was just she's like, no, she's like, you need to go. She's like, you need to use every opportunity you can to market. So I got up. I was so nervous. I haven't done that kind of public speaking in a long time. But it's just I did it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just about looking for those little opportunities and using them, I think.
Right. So you've made some. So you're pushing the snowball up the hill because you're saying it's hit the bottom of the hill.
I'm trying to push it down so it just gains its own momentum and takes
off.
Okay. I don't want to push
it
it
on a downward slope. Okay. All right.
I hope so. My God,
stuck, and you're gonna
just goes.
and it goes okay. So you've but you've it seems like it's working because you've gotten some positive attention from it recently. Do you want to tell us about those things?
Yeah, sure. So you're right. Recently, I think the one you're talking about is the New South Wales Premier's Reading Challenge, and it's quite a massive challenge. And that's not something I entered myself. That's something where a reviewer chose my book to recommend to the competition.
Oh, possibly one of those reviewers that you sent some of the 100 copies to?
Exactly. So yeah, that's quite an honor that they accepted it for that, and you just don't know what can come. So now, but yeah, and then so from that, I didn't let that lie. Again, be proactive is my new mantra. Once that happened, I went ahead and contacted every other state, and I was like, just letting you know, my book's been accepted into New South Wales. If you're interested, happy to send a copy. And people got back to me that I might have missed the cutoff for them, but a lot of the times they'd be like, sure, we'll consider it for next time. We'll consider it for next year's list. We'll put it on our review. We'll send it to our reviewers and consider it. So
that's really cool. And then I think, and this might not be that recent, but I think that, and I'm not even sure how you get to be this, but I think that it was endorsed by the Children's Book Council of Australia, maybe?
Yes. Again, so this is one of those
extra fancy.
So it's just basically they loved it. So again, this is one of those careful.
That was awesome. Yes. You're I'm just gonna boil it down.
I'm gonna be be honest, I only used the word endorsed because my librarian friend was congratulating me on my endorsement from them. And I was like, oh, that must be a word they use in Canada or America to say that this is what they said positive about it. So I don't know if it maybe means something different. But yeah, again, that was one of those carefully thought out review books. I sent a book to them to review. And as a result of that, they gave it a really great review and they put it in their great for read alouds category. So then that was just the perfect thing for my back to school guerrilla attack. Yeah. But I mean, they wouldn't even know. I guess what I was trying to say with all the, sending out all those books, they wouldn't know I exist if I didn't send them a book, if that makes sense. And I guess that's why it is important to, like if you can't, we definitely, broke the budget to try and promote it and get it out there. But, that's kind of been my vision, and that's something, I'm investing in my career now, hopefully, So, yeah, but I think all those little things, they take time. They didn't even tell me when they reviewed it. I happened to just Google it one day and find the review, and I was just like, whoa, amazing. So it's a very mysterious world, guys. I wish I could tell you all the answers, but if I sound like I know anything, it's a lie.
Well, it sounds like that we have to keep putting our things out there because some of them stick. So that's, I mean, if there's any lesson, like that's a great one to have, at least a reminder of. But yeah, no, I feel like I've been like questioning a lot and not leaving enough room for Elena. And my little timer is going to like hit at us soon. So Elena, what you got over there?
Now you've been asking all the right things. And just, yeah. So it's fantastic that to me you're putting such thoughtfulness into the marketing, and really I love that you said well thought out. And so that brings me back to that question I always have, which is, so who's your target audience and how much work do you put into really understanding that so that when you target it well?
Yeah. So for my recent little boosts that I've done, my target audience was specifically, and you can actually define your boosted posts so you can choose your own audience. So I'm going to share a little secret.
And this is on which platform? On Instagram?
On Instagram, but now once you go to a business platform, it links it to Facebook. So it often will be boosted via Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to share a sneaky tactic with you that I use now to like increase your visibility. And I learned this myself just from trial and error. So when I do a post, I realized that I would boost these posts and it wouldn't get any likes. And I'd just be like, what's the point? No one's seeing it. So one day I tried to put the post on worldwide and it went nuts. Like one of those posts ended up with nearly 6,000 likes. Now, the pro of that is people suddenly care because you've got all these likes on your post and it's more visible. So now what I do is I will put it on worldwide for a short time just to give it that initial boost of visibility, and then I'll drop back my audience. And so then now I've got an ad, and I'm specifically targeting America, Canada, and the UK, I think, which are all going back to school soon. And then for the interests, I've picked librarian, elementary teacher, that kind of stuff.
All right. That is an excellent tip. I don't know that I've done that through, I've not really like dabbled in Instagram advertisements.
Yeah.
So, or like boosted posts and stuff. So, do you find, or I guess it's difficult for you to know for tracking, but like you do at least get a lot of likes on them, a lot of,
yeah, for sure. Once you turn it down off worldwide, it will slow down for sure. Like it definitely slows down. And I've only recently changed to a business account. So these are the first posts I've boosted on Instagram. But no, I check lately because I'm curious who's liking it. And I've been pleasantly surprised. It's like, teacher, author from Canada, Irish, and sometimes it would be like you wouldn't expect. And then you're like, oh no, they're like a librarian or something. So yeah, it's a bit hit and miss, but it's one of those things that you just have to play around with it. You know, it's like when kids get a video game and then it's this big world and like you don't know anything about it. And that's definitely how I felt. It's only recently that I've started to feel a bit more in control, know what I want to do, and not swamp my followers with just look at my book, look at my book, look at my book, to actually like connect with the few that are important to me and to try and think, is this interesting to me? Other stuff that I post, like, did this quote move me enough to share it today? Like, so I try not to post unless like a particular photo really moved me, or like it might be as simple as a cute photo of my dog. Like I love posting photos of my dog because she's always doing cute stuff. Yeah. Okay. I got sidetracked again, guys. Sorry.
No. That's not sidetracked. That's like exactly on point. So like one of the things that you do to connect with people on Instagram particularly, it sounds like that's like your like main platform. Yeah. If you've got others, then like let us know. But it sounds like one of the things that you use to connect with people on Instagram is making sure that your posts are super genuine, that you're like, no, I loved this. That's why I posted it. I was really interested in this. That's why I posted it. So like being extra authentic with your things. Are there other things that you do on Instagram to like try to make relationships with your followers?
I started doing Mental Health Monday, which I don't do every Monday. It's more like a once a month / if I'm feeling inspired on Monday to write something. So where I'll share either something of my own journey with panic attacks and anxiety, and yeah, just kind of try to, I guess it's my way of being like, social media can be quite, oh, I won this competition, and oh, look at my perfect this, and rah, rah, rah. And it's kind of like my raw way to be like, yeah, like there's also this other stuff going on, and like kind of try to inspire people like what you can do in spite of those things. Because I've had quite a, interesting journey with panic attacks and anxiety. So yeah, I'm inspired to share about that. So I do when I feel that. But again, it's not something I do every week because I don't want to force that. It's something I do when I have a thought and I'll be like, oh, that's a cool thought. I feel like I need to write something about that. And so then I'll share that in a post that Monday.
All right. That's really, really cool. So we are almost out of time. So I want to give Elena a chance for her official last question.
I just wanted to know if you do any like outreach to schools, because you mentioned that they play the soundtrack. What's your approach in terms of
in terms of that, it's really just people I've connected with online. Like for now, I guess it's definitely been on my mind. But I think when it comes to schools, if people asked me, I would do it. And if it got to a point where I have an agent or a larger publishing house and they're like pushing for me to do that, I would do it. But I guess I want to invest in my other work now and focus on that rather than spread myself too thinly by trying to go in personally to all these schools. Yeah. But again, I think if sales dropped off for Gregory and the Grimbuckle, I'd be like, what can I do now, guys? Like, I'd be like, maybe I'll go. Yeah, I think not right now is my thought to that, but definitely I always think about that as something I'd be interested in the future. But yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that like is the idea. That's like almost like that just kind of blew my mind actually, because I think that I personally am always thinking that I'm not doing enough. I've got this like long list of stuff that I'm like, I'm supposed to be trying this. Like, this is a thing that I wanted to like test out. Like, I could maybe be feeling like less of a failure about that and more thinking about when sales taper off and I need to like give this a boost. I will go to this list and I will pull another thing off this list. So like a layered approach as opposed to like, throw everything you got at it right now from the beginning.
It's a frustrating, beautiful, strange thing being a writer. And I think you guys would identify with that. But I think at the end of the day, as long as you're doing it because it's your passion, you will always be seeking to refine yourself. You'll always be, and something will grow. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as you, like, might not be today, it might not be tomorrow. And I think it's I think, you know, there's these two kinds of writers, and one has all the talent and they give up too soon. They don't see those instant results, like, oh, I'm not a prodigy. I submitted to like dozens and dozens of people before somebody like shared my vision. And like you hear the stories of J.K. Rowling, who submitted to, she got rejected with Harry Potter by multiple. And that's the industry, like reality checks. So there's the talented ones who drop off. And then there's the other ones who also, like, you've got the kind of almost slightly delusional ones who are like, this is what I've written, it's awesome, if you don't accept it, too bad, you know, like, and they're not willing to remold, they're not willing to rework and learn. And both are a tragedy, because there can be so much beauty in that writing if they're willing to rework it, if they're willing to like try and push through those, you know, sacrifice for that dream. And so if you love it and you're passionate about it, you will do that at the end of the day. That's kind of my little driving force.
Okay, well, that was beautiful. I think we have to leave that there.
Yeah.
Melanie, will you tell people where they can find you online?
Yeah, sure. So mostly I'm on Instagram, guys. So it's just
surprise.
Melanie_Schubert_writer. That's where I'm most active. But I do have a website, melanieschubert.com, and I'm on Facebook as well. But as I say, Instagram is where I'm most active. The others are kind of at this point a formality, because I just couldn't spread myself. I felt like if I did all of them, I'd be doing all of them poorly. Yeah. That's my other advice. Pick one, and once that's blossoming and you feel like you've got the energy to go do another one, then do that. Or otherwise, I would have had Twitter and you know, that, and I have them all, but I don't use them. It's just occasionally I'll repost. But yeah. Instagram is where I am.
All right, and we'll try to make sure that we put your Instagram handle in the show notes.
Yeah,
and since I always get it wrong, Elena, will you tell everyone where they can find us?
So you can find us at www.indiekidlitpodcast.com with all the links and sometimes detailed, sometimes sparse show notes.
You know, if anybody wants to volunteer to help us out with that, like, we totally accept volunteers. Also, we accept reviews, but mainly we like the 5-star ones. Those are the ones that actually feed us. So then that's great. You can go ahead and do that. Apparently, we've got them. First of all, I did not know until recently that. Did you know that all of your reviews don't show up on all of the iTunes? It's like regional or some such. So like but we've got at least 4 regions covered. Now we want to get that number up. So like, if you are, you know, we would gladly accept your 5-star review from listening to the show. That would be awesome. And have we left anything out?
No, I think we're done.
Well, thank you so much, Melanie. It was really, really great. And when you are like starting to write like a second book and you're thinking about how that goes into your marketing, we would love to hear back from you. Or if you get any more like guerrilla tactics, you know, throw them our way. We'll throw them out to the people and like raise everybody's boat together. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.